Hey there, this is Ray, a Shetland Sheepdog, or Sheltie. I'm just starting off with an enzymatic toothpaste for him. Nice thing about that is you don't have to scrub with a toothbrush, just have to get it on the teeth and the enzymes break down the bacteria, so it's helpful. Always make sure that when you start, the water temperature is okay. It should be comfortable for you on your arm. Remember, dog skin's a little bit sensitive, but it does also run a little hotter than ours. So if it's comfortable for you, it's comfortable for them. If you notice them shivering, you can always turn it up a little bit, but usually that's more of an indicator of them being scared. His ear was a little greasy today from some ear medication he was on. I used cotton balls in his ears and scrubbed the worst side several times to try to get as much of that off as I could. I'm rinsing his head really well to try to avoid getting any more water in the ears. It can air dry while I wash the rest of his body, which is especially handy for dogs that don't like their faces dried, which is almost all of them. And you can see that I'll gently close their ear canals as I'm going around them as an extra precaution to keep water out. Water doesn't always cause harm, but if you know a dog has recently been struggling with or is prone to having ear problems, then I try to avoid getting water in the ears as much as possible. So as you can see, I've got a mixing bottle that's for diluting shampoos. I am really partial to Nature's specialty shampoos, and in particular their lavender. It's a medicated shampoo, but it smells amazing. It's the longest lasting scent I've ever found. So if you like lavender or just a good, strong, clean scent, I highly recommend it. If you don't like lavender scent or are allergic to it, do not use it. It does need to be diluted because it's pretty strong. Mix it with their Easy Shed conditioner, and it's my favorite long-lasting combo I've ever found. I do dilute it per the instructions on the bottle, but you can use various levels of dilution. I will remove my glove toward the end. of the wash to get a feel through his thick coat and make sure I got all the soap out. Rinsing is super important for these guys as they can develop skin problems or hot spots if any soap sticks around. Scrubbing and rinsing a Sheltie is the most time-consuming part of the entire groom. Rinse, beginning from the top, working your way down. And you'll have to alternate sides as you rinse down the back and the soap runs down both the sides. You can still see the soap coming down and settling in the floor. So when the dog is totally rinsed, a good indicator is no more soap on the floor. Make sure to rinse all the nooks and crannies. With the soap running down, it hides in places like the tuck up here. Be cautious using forceful spraying water near those sensitive areas though. The belly, his thick chest, his armpits, and between his back legs will all be areas to watch out for hidden soap spots. Sorry for some of the odd camera angles here. Sitting in the same position is tough, so I try to do some stretches and move around while I'm grooming. I'll switch from a squat to standing as frequently as my back needs. at that face. Isn't he perfect? Is he the best Sheltie ever? I can't say, but he's really good. This is another easy spot to miss here, right around the lead, the slip lead that goes around them. I always place mine over the chest with one arm in the loop. It obviously prevents them from choking themselves, among other potential injuries. But just make sure to move it and rinse around and under it. Be sure to rinse down the tail really well. Remember, the thick rear end is a big culprit for hiding soap. And then don't forget to alternate sides. I remove both my gloves to wring out as much water as I can. This cuts down on drying time so much, and it also helps me feel any soap I might have missed. Always triple check yourself before you move on to the dryer. It's such a huge time waster and a big pain to have to go back to the bath once you've already moved on to the dryer. Make sure you get all that soap out. Oh, look at him. Such a cute snoot. Take your time, do a good towel dry. It really cuts back on drying time, I'm telling you. Make sure you go back and forth in both directions all over the body. And pay a lot of attention to the face and the ears first, then also the legs and feet. I follow up with even more towel drying once we get out to the drying table. I use a professional grade high velocity dryer. For thick coated dogs like this tool is an absolute must. It does most of the work. You might even see hair flying around because this boy was shedding his summer coat big time. I always start with the nozzle off. It makes the dryer quieter and allows the dog to get used to the noise before I make it go louder. Start around the rear for two reasons: to help them get used to the noise further away from their head, and because you should not use the high velocity nozzle too close to the rectum. You have been warned. So after a quick blowout across the body, I work my way slowly up to the dog's head. This guy is really good and actually enjoys the dryer around his mane usually, but that's pretty unusual for most dogs. I'm keeping in mind that he had ear troubles recently, so I'll be sure to be extra gentle with his ears. You'll see me from time to time gently holding the dog's ears. This is not to hold the dog still. This is to carefully close the ear canals to help dampen the noise. I don't force this on the dog, but once they feel the difference of me doing it versus not, they usually start to trust me and prefer for me to cover their ears. Once the head and neck area is 95% or more dry, I put on the Happy Hoodie and switch the high velocity nozzle on so I can dry the dog's body. Some dogs will try to take the Happy Hoodie off, but most actually appreciate it and relax once it's on. It's one of the best investments anyone could ever make. It's affordable and it makes the process smoother for us both. Now I move on to drying the rest of the body from the top down, alternating sides like I did with rinsing. And also, like rinsing, drying thoroughly is so important to prevent issues like hot spots or even causing excessive shedding. It's kind of funny with it sped up, you can actually see the hair flying around even more. With a dog like this, it does feel like being in a snow globe. When I picked him up to move him, I felt that in his armpits were still a little bit damp, so I went back to finish those. He had a teeny mat behind his ear. I have a pair of chunkers I use to help thin mats out. I recommend having chunkers for sure. I switched from thinners to them and never went back. So now I'm going to show you how to do a brush out. On thick dogs like these, it's best to start from the bottom and work your way up. We're going to start with a slicker brush. I used to not, but now I do prefer the ones with pins on the ends. Just make sure they're tough enough to do the job without the bristles falling out all over the place. His chest and mane are so thick you have to kind of line brush, which means you start at the bottom, work your way up to the top, one line at a time. See, as I'm kind of sweeping back and forth and going up at the same time. It's really important to make sure that you brush that out really well with the slicker, and later on we'll follow up with a comb to make sure we got everything. We are going to take the brush across the entire body, but now you'll notice how thick and round the back of his front leg is. So I'm going to brush around it in a sweeping motion while also moving up the leg, kind of like how I just did with the chest. I'm just using the slicker to grab the outer layer of hair rather than digging deep into the coat with it. This helps pull tangles apart rather than pulling them tighter together. So you'll see here the sweeping motion that I'm using. I'm going across and up at the same time. A dog's coat is much more 3D than a human's hair. Humans have 1 hair per follicle, while dogs can have 25 hairs per follicle. So these pups in particular are thick. Thankfully, these are some of the best Shelties ever, and they get groomed on a monthly basis. On top of that, their owner brushes them really well and regularly. And groomers can tell these things. This owner is really on top of things. So don't go trying to tell your groomer that your dog got tangled by sticking its head out of the car window on the way to the groom, because we can tell the difference of if it just happened or not. Just like when we were rinsing the tail, making sure we get down to the root, we're going to make sure we get down to the root of the dog's tail from base to tip with our brush as well. The comb is going to be our follow-up tool after using the slicker brush. We do not demat with the comb, but it does help remove some fine undercoat. It's also like a radar detector to help find mats. But if you do find one, make sure to stop and switch back to the slicker brush to break it up. We want to do this whole process as pain-free for the dog as possible, because otherwise they'll learn to hate brushing and eventually grooming. We want it to be a pleasant experience overall. Think about it like going to the dentist. If you go and you just get a quick, simple, pain-free cleaning, you won't mind going as much, but if you have to get a cavity filled and drilling done every single time, you're going to dread going. So a little maintenance and extra gentleness go a long way to a long, happy relationship with the dog in your care. Now when brushing the back end, be cautious around the bony areas that are back there. We have what's called the hock, which is the lower end of the foot. It's just all skin and bone there, basically. So right there, that's the bony area, the hock. And then right above it, there's a curved part where the skin is extremely thin. Be sure to brush down the sides of the legs and not directly against the skin on those sensitive parts. Then we're going to follow up again with the comb as we've done everywhere else to make sure we didn't miss anything and get that extra fine hair out. And I'm finding here it's hard to brush through. You can see where my comb is getting stuck. So I stick my hands in and realize, oh, there's a wet spot in there. Whoops. So I would not be able to get that brushed out, but I'm going to go ahead and touch it up with the dryer, and then I'll be able to easily get it brushed out after that. Not drying a dog completely will also result in excessive shedding. So that's another important reason not to miss anything. It makes it seem like they're shedding worse than before the bath sometimes, which will not impress your client. So due to a poor camera angle, I'm still learning here, I did not get the sanitary area, which is underneath the legs, but I use a 7 for that, which some groomers might hear that and go, what? Because 7s are notoriously scary. but I do only use the Buttercut or Geet brand for that. I would not use a different brand. Something about their brand is just safer feeling, and I don't like how short a 10 takes a sanitary. It just seems too much, and that's what we were trained, that's the safest blade, but I switched to a 7 and never looked back. So I'm using a 7 here to skim down the booty. Obviously, we're going to get the hair away from the anus because that's just gross. Who wants to have poopy hair back there? And we're going to carve out a nice little path, again, for obvious reasons. But we want to keep that natural look, so I'm not going to overdo it. I'm not digging in my blade here. I'm just lightly skimming over the top, just like how I was brushing earlier. Follow up with my comb. That'll help me see any sticky outies that I might have missed. So he and his brother walk a good amount. Their nails, and they're there monthly, so their nails are never that much to do. I'm just lightly tipping them with my clippers. That way all I have to do is smooth them with the Dremel. So when I'm dremeling, I hold the foot with one hand, with my left hand, and then Dremel with my right, but I use my right thumb, as you can see, to kind of rest it along the foot. That just gives me extra balance and helps me apply the right pressure to the nail. So keep in mind you're just smoothing a rough edge. I usually feel each nail after I smooth it to make sure I can't feel any jagged parts. But make sure you don't hold the grinder on the nail for too long or you can cause friction burn. You can apply pressure, but then be sure to kind of tap the grinder on and off and move it around the nail rather than staying in one spot for too long. You can see the different holds I use here for nails. Sometimes you may have to get their leg kind of pinned against your body with your elbow to keep them from jerking, but this guy is so good. He doesn't mind it. It makes it really easy on me. So we're in the final stretch, almost all done. For trimming, we're going to keep it simple and natural. You can set your line in by cutting across where the bottom of the foot above the paw pad is. So you'll see that here in just a second. Comb it all down. And right where that top of the paw pad is, you're going to cut a line across. And kind of how we brushed all around that leg, we are going to trim all around the leg too. And just like with the brushing, I'm not digging my scissors in far and taking a whole lot off, but just keeping them on the outside and trimming off the ends. The angle of the scissors is important. Don't cut horizontally across the leg, but work your way down vertically how I'm doing here. Then all you'll have left to do is tidy up the foot on the tops and the sides. So again, don't cut horizontally across the toes either. Just like with the back of the leg, we don't want to trim horizontally across the toes. Trim up against the grain or down with the grain of the hair. You can brush up or use your fingers to pull the hair up between the toes. It is important to keep that well trimmed to avoid mats and moist spots between the toes. Yes, even toe hair can get matted. I will say beware trimming with scissors over top of the bottom of the feet or across the paw pads. Use your clippers down there and do a thorough job so that way you don't have to use your scissors. Use the scissors only on the sides and tops of the feet. If you see me do that, do not copy me. Remember, you're only cutting hair, so always use a light touch. If you happen to accidentally snip any part of the dog's paw pads or skin, but are using a light enough touch, you shouldn't slip up with an accidental cut, which is never fun. But if accident does happen, because they do, it's always a good idea to keep a clotting powder and vet wrap nearby just to be safe. These are live animals and we are fallible human beings using sharp tools, so better safe than sorry. I am going to sneak around a certain way here. It's kind of hard to see because of his hair, but you can safely trim the armpit with scissors as long as you have a good angle on it, but do be careful. He's not matted or anything, but he does get tangled in there, and he will get matted if I don't preventatively scissor it out, because his armpits are cavernous. And the more cavernous the armpit, the more difficult it is to shave mats out. So I do like to trim that hair there. Now, if you're newer at this, what you should do is use a 10 blade and be really safe. You got to watch out for those skin flaps that are in that area. But if you get a good angle, it can be safe to do with scissors. I use Kenchi Love shears. Kenchis are a well-known brand name that makes some expensive scissors, but the Loves are about their cheapest pair. I don't necessarily recommend spending an arm and a leg on shears. I've never found a need for that. Remember, this is all about practical. Make sure you use sharp scissors, but also scissors that can handle accidentally hitting a nail here and there. The more expensive brands can't, and I'm all about that practicality. The cheaper shears can just take a little bit more wear and tear, and you're not going to cry if you drop them or something happens to them. I'm just going to tidy up his ears, just the little straggles over top of them with my chunkers. Those little greasy ears didn't clean up as well as I'd hoped, but that's how it goes with the eardrops sometimes. He's still adorable though. Always blow the extra hair off of the dog, just because I wouldn't want that coming into my car with me. Feel free to let me know if you have any follow-up questions in the comments, or let me know if there's a dog or a type of groom or a certain aspect of grooming you'd like to see demonstrated so I can do my best to make it happen. This handsome boy is all ready to go. I hope you got something out of this. Thanks for watching and be blessed.